Okay, let's have a round for, what's your name? Helene. This was a very, very special day for me. I made my final payment on my student loan. "60 years goes fast as a fart, doesn't it? It just flies. Maybe next time I'll go to a 4-year college. I don't know. Anyway, as you know or you don't know, I relax quite a bit before the show to get my energy and so on. And today was no different. I was relaxing. And all of a sudden, I started relaxing on my on the lazy boy. It was a lazy boy, not a couch. It was a fat Jewish kid. And I started thinking, Kobe Bryant, what a strange name. How did he get that name? And I did some research, and it turns out his father named it because of his fondness for that fancy meat, the premium meat, Kobe. So I guess if his father was Jewish, his name would have been Flunkin. Just on that. Just a little interest. Anyway, of course you can. It's a free fucking country, for God's sake. My God. Anyway, I have a tremendous memory. I can remember my first day in school, high school, and I come to the class, gym class, and the instructor says, "Boys, when you go up for the basketball, you got to remember, protect the family jewels." So I ran right to the locker room, put away my bar mitzvah ring. But then I said, no, he didn't mean that. He was talking about my privates. And he called them family jewels. I was so proud. I bought these tight-fitting pants. I don't think I took them off for 4 years. I walked up and down the hall. My family jewels. My family jewels. Hey, girls, my family jewels. What do they call it now? You know what they call it? Junk? What the hell happened? How did it get so devalued from jewels to junk? It's got to be supply and demand, I think. At least if they called it something less expensive, call it a tchotchke. A little plaything. So, but it's got to be supply and demand. And I think what's behind it is these young guys, can you imagine? They send naked pictures of themselves on the internet. And the girls see them, they get 40, 50 dick pics a day. They're bored to shit. Seen that. Oh, seen that. And where does it go? Junk mail. Thank you. You have a good taste. I grew up in Westchester town, about half of my life, in the town of Ardsley. And in Ardsley, the people there are rather well-to-do. And so they drive these fancy cars. And they have these fancy dogs, the ones I'm mean with the crossbreed, the Labradoodles and the mini cacas and all that. So I decided I would go into a business for a firm that needed it. And the Jewish nursing homes have a problem with these little old Jewish men who, after breakfast, they go for a little spazier, a little walk, and they get lost, and they got to be rescued. And these dogs will be scientifically raised to rescue them, and I call them Goldman retrievers. So far, so good. So anyway, Before I started stand-up comedy, I figured I'd see how the big boys did it. So I watched all the Comedy Centrals and HBO, and most of them really rocked. They were fantastic. But there was one guy, and he, 30 minutes without a laugh, he comes to the end of his routine. He says, "My name is Brian Kernberg, and I'll be here all week." Now, tell me, if you suck, why do you give your real name? I wouldn't do it. People were lining up in line to make sure they never, ever, ever, ever seen him, even by accident. People were writing it down. They were borrowing pens to write it down. I grew up, I was a clinical psychologist before doing this nonsense. And when I started to do it, I noticed that there were some patients, just some, that had a lot more problems than the rest, a lot more. So I charged them more. And the reason where I got it from was the airlines, excess baggage. I just don't know. And every person, they're always asking me an example of a case, an interesting case. I had a half Jewish, half Japanese patient, a Jupe, and it was a case of identity confusion, and he was very confused. Every December 7th, he would attack Pearl Schwartz. Singing, "We did it before, and we could do it again." And also, I'm really, forgive me for this, Mitchell, I'm really infatuated with the Bill Cosby situation. Why would someone, as a psychologist, why would someone who could have had all the consensual sex he wanted, why did he do things the way he did? The psychologists call it paraphilia. That's the fancy name. You know, like necrophilia. And it boils down that he had a overwhelming desire and reached climax whenever he penetrated a semi-comatose, non-responsive sexual partner. Why didn't he just try a Jewish woman? He wouldn't need roofies, aspirins maybe, and he wouldn't have to worry, about sending dick pics because they don't care what it looks like. They only care what you look like, and if in case you have a baby. So don't worry about dick pics, but nose pics would help. Sorry, Mitchell. Anyway. Also, as a psychologist, I used to have strippers come into the room for consultation, and they were dressed the way they like ready for work, and I said, "What is the problem?" And they said, "It's the vagina. They think it's getting smaller." And I said, "What makes you think that?" She said, "Well, the dollar doesn't seem to go as far as it used to." I was warned about that one. Anyway, I grew up in Williamsburg. And in Williamsburg, on where? Marcy Avenue.
That came later.
Yep. So anyway, and it was exclusively Jewish. I didn't know anyone that wasn't. So as a result, I knew nothing about other religions. I thought Palm Sunday was what happened when you had no action on Saturday night. And you'll never guess what I thought the resurrection was all about. We were just regular guys hanging around the corner. And we had a group. We sang doo-wop and all that. We were called the Foreskins. I was the leader, the head. Whenever we had to redo it, I'd say, take it from the top. Anyway, there were a lot of girls around there that I was dating, and then I started to date a non-Jewish girl, a shiksa. Does everyone know what a shiksa is? Everyone? Okay, good. And one of the girls I dated, after she left me, she dated a fellow shiksite or whatever, a guy. And he wound up in jail, and he wanted her to visit him, and he was begging her to visit him. And when she did, prison history was set. It was the first time ever that they permitted a conjugal visit. It's in the books. I tell it like it is. Anyway, my parents spoke English and Yiddish, and they only spoke Yiddish when they didn't want to be understood. So when we had a cleaning woman, and I didn't understand any Yiddish at that time either. So when the cleaning woman came, every Friday, I guess, my father would scream out. It sounded like gibberish to me, but he was telling, "Behalt das Geld," which means hide the money. Behalt and Geld. Behalt das Geld. But I thought that was her name. So this story is true, actually. I was a bit of a schmuck. Yeah, it was true. So anyway, when she came to the door one time, I said, "Ma, behalt das Geld is here." That's what happens. And when she finally left, she apparently knew Yiddish. She said, "Mr. Saltz, you ain't got much Geld to behalt." So fuck us. So anyway, also, in Jewish, I went to the yeshiva, and in the yeshiva, they taught us in Talmudic style. Before that, the first day I was there, it was a no-nonsense school. I was 6 years old. My fly was open. The teacher sees it, notifies the principal. He notifies the police. And they booked me on indecent exposure. But I got off insufficient evidence. That's the penal system for you. And they taught us in Talmudic style, so an English course would sound like this. If a man steals an ox and he sells it to his neighbor for $6, but the ox is worth $12, this man is what I call an oxymoron. And the same way we learn sex. If a snake fights with another snake and they can't get along, soon we have a reptile dysfunction. So anyway, with all this Yiddishkeit, who do I fall in love with? Catherine Mary Teresa Sheridan. All one person. And we were as different as could be. She was a gourmet cook. My favorite meal was spaghetti and ketchup. She dressed elegantly, and I dressed like an Amish pimp. But true love found its way, and we were married for almost 50 years. And the secret was we agreed right away that we would raise our children to both appreciate the Jewish culture and the Catholic culture. So when our oldest son, Sean Yitzchak, when he reached 6 years old, we entered him in a special school called Our Lady of Perpetual Mitzvahs. And it was run by a defrocked monk who sold timeshares, because in Florida there's 6 months there and 6 months there, and a nun who also was, had a history, and at his bar mitzvah, he said his prayers with a prayer shawl made by Christian Dior. So it was multi, and so all was fantastic, and every once a year our grandparents, my grandparents come, and my grandfather liked to listen to American songs and give them a Jewish twist, sort of a circumcision, make them real Jewish. And this is what he did to Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Yeah, boy, boy. Yeah, boy, boy. Yeah, boy, boy. Yeah, boy. Stanley Schwartz is coming to town. With a big fat belly and a stale cigar. With a hey Nelly Nelly and a hoo-ha-ha. Stanley Schwartz is coming to town. He's such a famous doctor. He drives a big Rolls Royce. One flaw in his character. He's got this thing for little boys. So you better watch out. Careful, my child. This no good lout is a Galiciana Oscar Wilde. Then Stanley Schwartz is coming to boy. So and then I went to Hebrew school. A little bit more about the yeshiva. Every young boy at some time wants to be a doctor, wants to play doctor with the little girls. That's right. That's very natural. Not me. I wanted to play rabbi. And every Friday, I would schlep some girl to the mikveh, and for a spiritual cleansing. And it was usually this girl Mona, and Mona really had repercussions from it. She developed a strong fear of water and an even stronger fear of rabbis. And but she went for therapy, and it was all cleared up. And she came back and worked on weekends in Coney Island. And one weekend, she rescued a young rabbi whose yarmulke flew away, and he went in to try to catch it. She brought him back and gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Now, according to Jewish religion, you breathed it, you bought it. So they had to marry. And I attended the services, and when they asked me, did you give the bride away? I said no, but I damn sure could have. So that was part of that thing. Now I'm just trying to think if there's another Yiddish thing that I can think of. If not, we'll go to something else. I prepared. I went to Jewish high school, high school in the yeshiva, and it had a basketball team, but it didn't have those hottie cheerleaders because it was all boys. But we managed to get cheerleaders. Our mothers volunteered. Four little old Jewish women. They made their own uniforms, and they had their own cheer, and this is it. So give 3 cheers for our yeshiva. Each girl here is a kosher beaver. We say the prayers, we call them bruches. Let's go, boys, and kick some tuchas. We lost every game that year. Thank you very much. I'm George Saltz.